All right, it looks like we just went live. So welcome to our student panel. For those of you that are just joining us, feel free to get comfortable and get ready to hear from all of our wonderful guests. We'll just give a minute or two for others to join and get settled as well before we really get started. So we'll be with you in a minute. All right, I think we're safe to go ahead and get started at this point. And if anyone joins us throughout, feel free to check the chat box. There'll be some information there about how you can participate in the student panel. My name's Kristen. I'm an admission counselor at Mount St. Joseph University, and I'm just here to moderate the discussion and help facilitate the conversation. So at this point, I'll just have all of our guests introduce themselves, starting with Janet Cox.
Hi there, my name is Janet Cox and I am the Dean of Students at Mount St. Joseph University. I arrived on campus in 2013. I oversee the areas of residence life, of wellness, of violence prevention, and also student engagement and leadership. We also have a children's center on campus, which I oversee. So those are the areas that work through me. I also want to let you know that from a residence life perspective, that as an undergraduate myself, I was a resident assistant in the residence halls and did a lot of programming on campus.
Awesome. And Warren Grove, will you introduce yourself now?
Sure. My name is Warren Grove. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Engagement and Leadership. I've been here for almost 7 years now. I oversee orientation and I oversee student activities. And similar to Janet, I was also a resident assistant in undergrad and have had a lot of that residence life experience. I was the coordinator of residence life for my first 3.5 years at the Mount. So I'll have plenty to share with you today, as well as some insights into what the experience is like.
Awesome, thanks for that. How about Treston? Will you introduce yourself for the?
So I'm Treston Russell. I'm a second semester junior at the Mount. My major is computer science or communications. I'm a computer science minor. I've lived on campus for 2 years. I just recently moved off.
Great, thanks. And last but not least, Sandra.
Hi, my name is Sandra, and I'm currently a junior, and I am doing a dual major in education. So I'm doing early childhood education and special education. I have been living on campus since my first year, and I'm hoping to live on it again this coming year.
Great. Well, thank all of you so much for being here with us. We are really excited to share with you just some of the ways that you can get involved in campus life at the Mount, especially as a resident student. You'll see on your screen, there is a chat box there, and you should see a message just giving you directions that if you have any questions at all throughout the panel, please make sure to put them in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer them throughout the panel. But I will just get things kicked off with a question of my own. And I'll pose this question to each one of you because I think you can all kind of give your own perspective. What do you feel are the advantages to living on campus, and why would you recommend it for an incoming student? And maybe we can just start with Janet and work around again.
Okay, I think there are many advantages to living on campus. One is that even though we're a small campus, I mean, you don't have to commute or deal with the Cincinnati traffic. There's all of the resources that are within, a 2-minute walk around campus, the offices, the various advisors, the library, to get a cup of coffee, all of those things are just very, very convenient. So you have all the resources that you might need. Also, it's easy to take advantage of the various events that take place on campus. We have athletic events. We have social events that I'm sure Warren will talk about. Also in the residence hall, the resident assistants are student mentors who are trained to provide some activities and interactions, and you get to know the people that live around you on your floor.
Great. Thank you for that response. Warren, what do you think?
So when people talk about having the college experience, they really are referring to college life, including residence life. So those students that are living on campus really are getting the full benefits of what it means to be a Mount Lion, right? Um, when your friends are right down the hallway from you, it's the only time you're ever going to experience that kind of camaraderie with people. It's just a really special moment and a really special experience that's truly unparalleled, and you just don't get that same type of connection when you're commuting from home. So all the traditions that we have on campus, Janet was talking about events that we have. So when we host bingo and spring fest and spring formal and community trick or treat and homecoming and have trivia and karaoke and comedians and hypnotists and all the things that we do on campus throughout the year, you can just roll right out of bed or open up your door and they're all just footsteps away. So you really do have the whole entire Mount experience at your fingertips on campus.
Great. And Tristan, I feel like your perspective will be really interesting on this as someone who's lived both on campus and off campus. So what would you say if someone asked you that?
Living on campus benefited me a lot. I really like being on campus. With the campus being so close together, I was able to get from point A to point B in such a short amount of time, not really be late to anything. Going to all the events, I really liked it. Having all my friends on the same floor, it was easy to meet up and go to events, go to practices, go to classes, things like that. And it was also easier to schedule like study times and just knowing like, hey, my friend's just right down the hall. I know when they're there or when they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sandra?
I think living on campus is very fun. Just for the simple fact that I feel like it's been mentioned a lot, but it's just the fact that everyone is so close and it's like such a small campus, so it's so easy to get around. And even so, like living on campus, like what 5 minutes away, there's like stores that you can go to, and different things if you need to get it. So I think it's just fun when you meet up with friends and you just go to a store like 5 minutes away, or not like fast food restaurants around the campus, which is also pretty cool. So like late nights, if after like studying in the library for a while, take a ride over to the fast food area, and just like having that style of like kind of living in community and being able to like see your friends on campus and like going to events, which the campus does a really good job in hosting events in the evening for students to get involved and like win prizes and meet new people and like communicate. So that's what I really like about the campus, because I got to meet so many people through those late night events and like being able to bond over like a fun activity and creating that friendship with people that aren't in your major, which is pretty cool, because then you realize like how different you are, but how amazing it is to have that friendship. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, sorry, go ahead, Janet.
I was just going to say, one of the fun things we do that Sandra made me think about was we know what local fast food places our students like to participate in from some of the work that Warren does on surveying. And so oftentimes for these events, we get gift cards as prizes to these local restaurants and places for students to go to kind of cash in on their prizes. So that makes it fun as well.
Yeah, there's nothing better to a college student than free food, right? Or really to most people, but especially a college student. So a question that I'll just gear towards Janet, because I think it has a relatively simple answer. Something that lots of our prospective students ask is if they're required to live on campus and if housing is guaranteed for them.
Yeah, if you are a student who lives within a 35-mile driving distance, you are permitted to live at home with your parents. Otherwise, we ask that if you are less than junior status and outside of that 35-mile driving distance, that you live on campus. And so that is the requirement. And it, most people don't benefit from that experience. I mean, we have students who live in the hall, students who have now moved off campus. Those are both really good experiences, but having the live on experience and learning how to maybe navigate a roommate or live next door to someone and how to learn to live in community kind of prepares you for that next step of living off campus. So we look at it as a good training ground, a good place to build community experience and get that done before you think about the next steps. And students that are eligible to live off campus complete a commuter verification form, just so that we have all the documented records on that. And that is part of the admission process through SLATE.
Yeah, wonderful. So I feel like your answer led me really easily into my next question, which I'll direct to both you and Warren. What kinds of supports do we have in place for our residential students that are really important for students to be taking advantage of?
I think, go ahead, Warren.
All right,
Sorry.
I can speak to that. I think the number one thing we have available for the students in the residence hall are our resident assistants. So we have a group of upper class students that are highly trained in a variety of areas, including understanding utilization of campus resources, how to respond to emergencies, how to have really meaningful one-on-one conversations with our students, and how to be a solid mentor. So the number one resource is definitely using that resident assistant, and that resident assistant is going to help that student branch out into other areas for involvement and knowledge at the institution. So that's going to include getting them involved in the events that they do in the residence hall. It's going to ensure the residents are knowledgeable of the traditions we have on campus, as well as of the campus resources that they would use that are just right below their feet.
I would say too, another opportunity is we have a couple different living learning communities in the residence hall. One is focused around health sciences. So if you are one of those majors, even if you don't live on the same floor as that particular community, they provide events and activities. There are also study tables that they organize. And as Warren mentioned earlier, if you can just walk down the hall or go down one floor and because you're having trouble with an assignment, that makes living in the hall very positive. We have another living learning community called Lions on a Mission. And so they work very much with our mission integration office and service on campus. And so those activities are coordinated around that focus. And then we have a new one this year called the Artist Colony. And that's for any of our students that are interested in art, theater, music. You don't have to be that major, but if you have those interests and would like to participate in some of those activities, that's a new group this year.
Awesome, thank you for that. Now going off of that, a question to pose to Tristan and Sandra. In what ways do you feel that your resident assistant or previous resident assistants have impacted your residential experience? Or have you participated in a living learning community that you want to share a little bit about? And we can start with Tristan.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you feel you've had any experiences with a resident assistant or an RA that really impacted your residential experience.
Yeah, for both years. So my first year I don't remember who I had, but I know they helped me through some situations that I had gotten myself into on campus. They helped me work it out. They explained to me the different ways I should go about fixing the problem. And after I got it fixed, I went back and let them know hey, thank you for this. And then also my second year, it was with Kia. She graduated, I believe, last year. She was just super friendly. She was one of those people that every time you see, she spoke to you. She always wanted to know how your day was going, how classes are going, if you need any help getting around campus or anything like that, if you need help with classes. She was always willing to help and she was always there.
Awesome, that's really great to hear. Sandra, what about you? Any impactful experiences with an RA?
Well, I think I had some wonderful RAs on our floor. I love the little bulletin boards that they had with great information on our floor. I just think that they put a lot of effort into it and making it like artistic, which I really like to see as I walked by on the floor. But I also really liked how they would do a lot of activities for our floor. We would have like a pizza night. There was a lot of nights where we had like a cake party with ice cream. Just like they would send out emails and motivating all the students on our floor to come on out and join us. I thought that was really cool. I know that we had a game night. Just being able to kind of interact with the roommates that you have around you in the floor, I thought that was pretty cool. My first year, I did do Lions on a Mission, which I really did like because we did have the opportunity to have a Sister of Charity mentor. So we would kind of have their emails and text, like their phone number, to be able to like kind of send back and forth like messages, check in with one another. If we had any prayer requests, the sisters would always like text us and be like, hey, praying for you today. Do you have anything that you want me to pray for you? Which I really liked, just having that power of being able to like talk to a sister and have their support and always know that they're praying for me as I'm like going through the journey of college. And we would always have like ice cream socials with them, or we had a grill out at one point. We would also meet up for prayer sometimes in the evenings with them at the chapel, which was really nice and pretty. So I really liked that. And I really liked Lions on a Mission. So it was a good experience.
That's great. So for those of you that are not as familiar with the Mount, we are a Catholic university and we were founded by the Sisters of Charity. So Lions on a Mission, as well as our campus ministry, is a big way that we continue to stay involved with the Sisters of Charity and help students connect to their faith on campus. So just to kind of give you a little background about what Sandra was referencing. My next question, I think, is a very common question we get from prospective students who are wondering how they'll get paired with a roommate and what that process looks like. Of course, a lot of students are wondering about that right now and even waiting to get their roommate assignment. So Janet, do you want to talk with us a little bit about that process and how students are paired?
Mm-hmm. Students fill out their, preferences on room type, and then they're asked some questions about, are they a morning person, an evening person? What kind of things do they like? Are they more neat than messy? These are all really important questions to know if you're going to share a room with somebody. Mm-hmm. And we also look at things like majors, or if they're participating in a particular, like they might both be student athletes, maybe not necessarily on the same team, but maybe they are. So students can ask for particular names for a roommate. And so if they have met people through various social media or whatever and want to put down a name for being roommates, then they should also tell that roommate, put down their name in turn. But we try to match that up based on interests and lifestyle and just making sure that people are feeling comfortable. So it always helps if people come to the table with ideas of who they'd like to be with. But if not, we look at all that information to try to make a good match.
Great. And kind of jumping off of that point as well, what sorts of supports do we have in place for students with disabilities that may impact their housing requests?
They can work through our director of the Learning Center, Stacy Mueller, if they have any special accommodation needs. And so she will meet with them and talk with them and make those determinations and then let our office know before they're placed. And so it's a really good system, and Stacy's very good to help each of the students.
Great, thanks for that bit of information too. I know that can be a common question. And it would be the same for students that are looking to have an emotional support animal or a service animal, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Do we allow any other types of pets on campus?
Well, we do allow you to have a fish in no more than a 10-gallon tank. So if you are a fish person and you want to have your fish friend be part of your college experience, we would welcome them in the residence hall.
Awesome, that's great to know. So for those of you that want a pet, fish are a great option. Now, jumping back to Sandra and Tristan, Aside from living on campus, what are some ways that you feel you got really involved in campus as a student? And did being a resident help you to do that? So I'll start with Sandra and then we can jump to Tristan.
I think I got involved on campus a lot of the time, just because I did walk into the campus with an open mind, just as in being willing to like participate and being willing to put myself out there. Just because the simple fact is when I did decide to come to the Mount, I loved how like small the community was, but how together it was and how very welcoming everyone was. So it kind of created a safe platform in which I felt like I could just like go out there and like go for it. So I feel like just having that support, but also like having wonderful people around me gave me the opportunity to kind of like go for it and push myself to create those fun memories on campus, which I really have enjoyed. And living on resident, like living in the resident hall, I feel like it's helped even more just because I know that when it comes to evening activities, they have it open to people that live on the residence hall, but also for people that are commuters. So obviously when you're in the residence hall, you're more committed to like going to it, which I felt like it was. So I was like, well, I'm already living here, so might as well go take a shot at it, take a break from studying and having fun. And especially like Janet had mentioned, especially when they have like gift cards and stuff, you kind of feel more motivated to go to those events, especially when it comes to bingo, because I know that bingo is a big thing. I know that when people think of bingo, it's just like, oh, like it's not a fun game. Well, it is a fun game out at the Mount, and people are always packed and always have fun prizes. So I know that that was one of my first events that I went on campus. So I was like, oh, this is great. So yeah.
Sandra, that's so funny that you would say that, because when Warren and I arrived the same year at the Mount and we said, what are the campus traditions? What are the things that students enjoy most? And they told us bingo. We were in disbelief, but it is 100% true that that is definitely one of the most popular and engaging programs.
Mm-hmm. Tristan, what about you? Clubs or events that you really liked as a resident student?
Mine was like all over. So when I came to campus, I was really closed-minded. I was mainly only like classes and football. But then there were some people that I was hanging out with on the football team that did a lot of service learning and helping out around the community. And I just started hanging out with them, started doing those. And then my orientation leader would show up at my room every week trying to pull me to the clubs and things like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to. But eventually I gave it a shot, and then I started going to all the activities around campus. Even if I wasn't a part of the club, I would still show up to some of the meetings or show up to the events that they were having just to support, because we're a small community. We like to support everyone, and everyone's super helpful. So I just thought, why not give back?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for that insight, Tristan. Warren, any other events or activities that you would want prospective students to know about?
I would really want to cover all of our major traditions.
Yeah.
Big things. I think some of the other big things that our students love to do. We do have a community trick or treat that we do every year. Last year was its 51st year, and we have over 1,000 kids come through our Harrington gym, and our students volunteer to pass out candy and to dress up and to make decorations, and our students absolutely love that. We have a lot of students that go to homecoming and our homecoming pep rally. This year, we're moving some things around and hopefully planning for a homecoming dance, depending on what social distancing restrictions and all of that look like. Our spring formal dance, which happens every late March, early April, we go to Newport Aquarium, and we have the whole aquarium rented out exclusively to us. We get the riverside room where we dance, and we have the view of the view of the city from Kentucky, which is absolutely stunning. We have a yearly comedian and a yearly hypnotist, and we try to bring different talent every year and do something fun with that. We pack all of those programs because our students love them so much. Students that are more musically inclined, we have open mic night where our students can perform for each other, and we have students that play piano, we have students that do slam poetry, we have students that even play flute and violin, we have our jazz band come and play as well. So lots of really fun things to do. And once again, they're all just footsteps away.
Yeah.
And trivia.
Yeah.
Trivia is big too. We do almost every other week to about a month. We do trivia, and who knows, we might be doing more of that with everything coming up this year and social distancing. And the organizations will be figuring out how to best make these programs fun, whether they're virtual or they're in person, socially distant.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, it sounds like there's a program or event out there for anyone.
Quite a bit. And the great thing about them all is that our student orgs, our student leaders, they're the ones that make those programs. So, Sandra is in Hispanic Latinx Student Union. That's another organization that makes programs for our campus. I think the last I counted, we had over 300 programs the previous year for our students to go to that were made by our student organization leaders. So if you get involved, you're going to be helping to create those sorts of things for us on campus and for our students. And we do tend to see a lot of our students that are involved in those organizations and are in leadership roles are resident students or had been resident students. That connection that they made on campus helped them move into those leadership roles because the proximity was close.
I would say too, another great thing about our campus is that we're West Side Cincinnati. It's easy to park. It feels safe. People comment about that piece, but we have the city 10 minutes away from us. And so everything that the city has to offer in terms of art museums and places to go and parks and all kinds of things to do locally, it's like having the best of both worlds. So there are often trips off campus to go to Perfect North to go sledding or skiing or any of those things. It's it is having the best of both worlds right in our backyard.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That's something I say to students I meet all the time. We only have a few minutes left, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So the last question that I'll have each of you answer would just be what you feel makes the Mount different, or what you feel makes our Mount community special. And we can just start with Janet and work around like we did in the beginning.
I guess I will say, I get the great pleasure to work with our Student Government Association on campus, and we hold various forums and collect information. But the thing that students say most frequently is, I love the Mount because it feels like home. And I think that speaks well of the experience and some of the things the students have said here, that it does feel like home and it's easy to be part of the Mount family.
Great. Warren?
I'd have to echo what Janet said. When we interview our student leaders, we specifically ask them, what's one word you would use to describe the Mount? And it really rarely differentiates from community, family, and home. So as Janet said, home. I think we really appreciate the students, the faculty, and the staff. We appreciate the fact that we all know each other. We all go out of our way to get to know each other. And we really do feel like we're part of something special. For the faculty and staff, it's more than just work. It really is vocation. We feel like we're giving back to our community through the experiences that we make for and with our students. And I think our students see that, they appreciate that, and our students feel happy and excited to engage with their faculty and staff members and with each other, so that we really have a deep-rooted culture of creating community on our campus.
Yeah. Tristan?
I said it felt like home. Looking at schools, the deciding factor was how it felt when I came onto campus. The environment was great. I liked how everyone was getting along. Everyone has smiles on their faces, and also the resources that we have around campus. So talking to friends that go to universities around this area, a lot of their resources aren't as open and can get to them as easy as we can. All of our resources are just walk in and you'll be helped right away. A lot of other universities, you have to set up appointments and things like that. So that's another thing I like. And then they also respond fast. So like I did the career center, I got my co-op set up and everything within a day. And now I've started that. So
Yeah. And again, last but not least, Sandra.
Kind of gonna like jump on the boat of like, I know that when I first visited the Mount and like was like in that community, I just felt like it was home, honestly. And I feel like the environment was very welcoming and exciting. I know that the campus is small, but I feel like the heart of it is very big. A heart that's very passionate about encouraging and helping students to grow as individuals, but also as professionals. And just that environment of the educators that work on the campus, and how they're very willing to take that extra time to help the student and make sure that they're succeeding academically, but also individually, because I've never really, like based on my other campus tours, I feel like you could just tell by the faces of the educators that they really want to get to know you as a person individually, and care for you and be there to support you through your ups and downs. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that was really well said. I definitely agree with all of you and probably would have shared more or less the same sentiments. So for those of you that joined us, thank you so much for being here. As you can tell, we definitely are a small community, but with a mighty spirit. And we would be really excited to continue to get to know each and every one of you. I know that we didn't get any questions throughout the panel, but if this panel sparked any questions for you and you want more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to either me. I'll put my information in the chat box, or one of our lovely panelists if they would like to share their information as well. And thank you to each of our panelists for being here. We definitely value your time and your opinions and are so thankful that you were able to share with us.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, not a problem. So we'll go ahead and sign off, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon.